Glad to have our next guest, Offensive Dancing. Happy Thanksgiving. Of course, it's a different Thanksgiving.
It is.
From where she hails. They have a fake Thanksgiving.
She's
I
so
celebrated
confused.
it in Canada. You can follow her at Lauren_Southern. She works for Rebel Media. Lauren, thank you for being with us.
How nice to meet you.
Oh, geez. Oh, geez. We're going to get letters.
At least you got the right kind of Indian.
This is true. Yes, she
I
got
think so,
that.
right. I'm a little confused right now with my recent trip. So
You did. You went to India. My understanding, because my brother went to India once, he got violently ill. I'm going to make an assumption. You did as well?
like I was saying earlier, it's impossible to go to India without getting sick. There's no such thing.
I know. I've never been, namely because I have no interest, because it seems like a soulless hellhole. Something that really confuses me. People go, well, I went to India on a spiritual journey to find myself. Did you come back feeling centered, like India is the bastion of spirituality and that's where you go if you're a bipolar, manic depressive American on Prozac?
Oh boy. The Taj Mahal was very touristy, but the Hindu temples were fun. They had this really, actually the funniest thing happened. I went to the Hindu temple, a big one in Delhi with a friend of mine, and we were looking around and we were just like, oh wow, this is so amazing. We've really lost the art of architecture. Look at what the ancients built. This is just beautiful. And we're just like talking about the history of India. And then we talked to one of the monks or whatever they are, I don't even know, that comes up to us and he's
Wildly
like, oh yeah,
offensive.
this temple was built in 2006. So
With slaves
I left feeling
in 2006.
exactly what I figure I should leave feeling, very humbled and embarrassed.
It is amazing what you can build and what you can do when you simply take money from the populace and do it with slaves. It's just, you can get whatever done that you want.
It's a fantastic protocol there.
It is. It works very well. So you went, now can we ask, what were you doing in India? Were you shooting a big video or?
I was reporting on a UN conference they had there on tobacco control. The UN likes to do all their conferences whenever there's big elections coming up, so no one pays attention to them. So while everyone was covering Trump, we were keeping an eye on the globalists and what they were trying to pass.
Well, word is President Barack Obama, soon to be former president, wants to be in a leadership position at the UN. So did you have an inside scoop on this, or have you been aware of the rumblings?
The one we were covering was on tobacco control. So basically what they were trying to do there, no talk of Obama, unfortunately, although they did keep everything behind closed doors. So there may have been some talk, but the whole thing there was they're trying to ban e-cigarettes. God knows why, but
yeah, I don't
UN
think
doing useless stuff. Shocking.
What's funny is all the Indians in North America, they're the ones I always see vaping.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Indians and Middle Eastern people are the ones who typically, and I imagine with Middle Eastern people, it kind of makes sense. Hookah, next step, vaping. Yep. Also an incredibly douchebaggy culture in North America, nightclubs, vaping. So I imagine behind closed doors, the UN people there who are actually local, smoking like a chimney.
There was a Daily Caller reporter sitting beside us, and he came back from the washroom and sat down, and he's like, there is a delegate in the washroom smoking a cigarette, and it's an anti-tobacco conference.
But it's not electronic, so he's fine. So you were there. So what's your read here? I know you did a video on Trump for Millennials.
Right.
I don't want to miss it. You were pretty all in on Trump at a certain point. You kind of you said there were some things you had reservations about. How do you feel now? How does Canada feel? Just you. You can't speak for all of Canada because a lot of them are assholes.
How does Canada feel? How I feel? Well, personally, I'm hoping this is going to be kind of the second big win against globalism and for Western society. Everyone said that Brexit wasn't going to happen. It happened. Everyone said Trump had a 1% chance of winning, if not less. It happened. And I'm hoping that we will keep finding these battles and winning them. So we've won the government. Now we need to take back the institutions. And then ultimately we need to take back the culture, because that is the thing that has destroyed my generation utterly.
Yes.
We've got one of the most lost and confused generations in all of history, searching for meaning and everything that doesn't matter, whether it's standing, holding a love Trump's hate sign or going to India to walk through temples.
Oh, you stole my thunder. I was going to make a joke about them going to India to center themselves. Speaking of which, centering yourself, your mic is scratching against you. It's a lovely sweater, but it's giving us...
your hands. It might be your hands.
It might be your hands. I don't know.
Stop fondling your mic.
Stop fondling.
I'll just stay still.
Someone's going to take the word fondling in a segment with Lauren Southern, and there's going to be a creepy guy in a basement somewhere. You're right. You're right. And I always try to be fair. First off, not everyone said he had a 1% chance of winning. On this program, we said 60-40% chance that Hillary wins. So we were wrong about Pennsylvania for sure. I thought he would win Wisconsin. It's not quite the truth is not quite the revolution that people on the Trump side want them to. The polls were pretty accurate nationally. They were within that 3-point margin of error. But it is. I think if the elections were held today, you correct me if I'm wrong. I think if they were held today, because of the leftists' behavior since the election, he would win in a landslide as opposed to by the skin of his teeth, because they were just holding back what we knew they were, right? Like, and then he won, like, let's just burn this down. And so I think if you were to hold it today, more people would flip them the bird and go, you know what? All right, I'm voting for Trump just because I want to piss you off.
Oh, and I think that was already the case why he won so much, is everyone watched all of these social justice warriors and political correctness. I know everyone's saying, oh, it's because political correctness. Oh, it's because political correctness. Well, it's not. That's not just a thanks Obama phrase. Yes, that is why people are freaking tired of this. I find it amazing that the anthem, the entire Hillary campaign was "Love Trump's hate," and
they stole it from Bernie.
Basically, Trump's campaign is hate. It's evil, it's violence. And of course, the irony is they run around burning the town down. They run around being hateful towards everyone, beating up Trump supporters. It's typical. I'm not even a little bit surprised.
Another day in life.
Another day in the life of a Hillary supporter.
Yeah.
And I think because even for me, like we talked about, everyone here was kind of hold your nose, hope for the best. And I didn't know how I was going to feel. Mm-hmm. And when Trump won, I did feel very elated, more than I thought. I thought either whoever won would be like, all right, well, hopefully things get better. We were all excited. And now, ironically, in being a total prick, Donald Trump has been a uniter, because it's not about the millennials. It's about everyone who's sick of their crap, including other millennials. That's kind of been this unification now. Everyone's sick of it. Do you feel that even in Canada?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I think there's something else we need to acknowledge, too, is it's not just millennials' fault. Yes, millennials are highlighting the problem more than ever. They are showing the problem in what it becomes very publicly. And that problem is the culture of cultural Marxism that has taken over the West and infected everything, the government, the institutions. And I'm really hoping that Trump, I don't know if he's going to do it, but I'm really hoping he's going to hit it at his core, which is the cultural Marxism that has made its way into the education system and the culture. Because if you don't destroy that, well, it doesn't matter how much you make fun of social justice warriors all over the internet or make fun of them during a presidential speech. They're going to keep coming out of the institutions. I mean, these people have been.
Well, I think it's a three-prong. I think obviously the government approach, and then I think education is very important, and then of course culturally, I would say the entertainment side and media side is equally as important as education, because there's sort of collusion there, right? I mean, when they were showing us Bowling for Columbine when I was in college, like education is inextricably tied to the entertainment industry and media establishment now. So they've both got to come tumbling down, and that's why I appreciate what you do and what Rebel does. I wish they existed when I lived in Canada. In Canada, we had government-sponsored media or Quebec government-sponsored media. Not very critical of big government when they're being subsidized by them. So I do hope people don't get complacent, because I think, well, we won, we had this sweeping victory. Well, actually, it doesn't change the fact that the establishment, the man, it's not the president, it's the media who did all the things that you talked about.
Mm-hmm. Well, as I was, millennials, this is what they keep saying online, is it's okay because millennials overwhelmingly voted against Trump. So in the future, we've got our voters lined up. We've got our voters lined up to defeat Trump and destroy this whole movement to save the West. I'm hoping that'll change, because I think at some point millennials are going to come crashing down and realize all of these false idols of kind of cultural relativism and abandoning the family, abandoning tradition didn't work for them, and it all failed, and they're going to have to find something that's actually substantial. I'm hoping that'll happen, especially when they start paying taxes and getting real jobs, if they ever do, that their vote will change. But we're really going to have to fight it, because to an extent, they have a point. They have a point that millennials could really turn this thing around and stop this movement in the future. They
could, and the worry there, and I've talked about this before, so baby boomers were just as left for their era as millennials, and they converted. So this is why we need to hold Donald Trump's feet to the fire. There needs to be enough contrast in all facets. I get the populism thing, he needs to be a small government guy, because this is a generation, millennials, who've never seen conservatism at work, who've never seen the constitutionalism at work. So it's nice to say things that, get you attention to the media, but as he governs, they need to see the contrast between basically pseudo-socialism. We're Canadian, so we can say that about Barack Obama, and actual free enterprise constitutionalism. If they see that contrast, which baby boomers did, that's where they become more conservative. If Donald Trump is kind of unfortunately like, George Bush economically, where he's sort of liberal light, where maybe he allows Obamacare to stay, or maybe he continues the needless wars, well, millennials aren't going to see enough of a contrast, and they'll just say, well, this guy was a jerk, and this one was nicer, and they kind of revert back to their base. So I hope to see him really provide a stark contrast. I think that's necessary for that transition.
It's going to be a scary first couple of months because it's going to be that deciding moment of, is he actually going to do what he said? Is
Right.
it actually going to come into fruition? And I don't know, we're all going to be sitting here because he has done the whole smile and shake hands tour. He's kind of changed the Trump he was during especially the primaries, where he would be calling everyone
Right.
ugly and fat, and changed into this very reasonable man. Now, is he
Which
gonna,
I like. I like him being reasonable as long as he
primaries.
keeps the policies. I like him. Like, you can be reasonable and still build a wall.
Precisely. And let's just hope that happens, because if it doesn't, then all of the things we feared with the Democrats getting in infinitely due to mass immigration, it'll come true if he doesn't follow through with the policies that he promised us.
Right. Not gay, Jared. Who are you texting in the middle of a program?
I'm texting important peoples.
Stop texting important. This is important people's. Lauren is important people.
You're right.
Jared
Important
doesn't
peoples.
care about me. You're texting while I'm talking?
He's a naughty little pilgrim. He deserves to be punished. You deserve to be scalped. We'll run you through that later. You're right. Let me ask you this. So there was obviously, you have the alt-right factions, the conservative side. We've had people from all different walks on this program. Do you think that after the election now, people can play nice and come together? Can you and Ben Shapiro be friends, especially after they almost arrested him at DePaul? Can the coalition be formed? Can these cracks be sealed back up?
It's so funny. I was just reading a Twitter war where someone was talking about him being taken away at DePaul, or Ben Shapiro, and all the comments below were like, oh, that traitor Ben Shapiro, the guy who abandoned us during the fight for Trump. And you know what?
That's a stupid person who would say that. That's a very stupid person.
Ben Shapiro was one of the people who made me conservative. I still absolutely adore his books and everything. I think the whole Michelle Fields situation was utterly insane, and his
Right.
Opposing Trump was ridiculous to me. But it's going to be hard to forget, because I do think that the right is going to be changing a little bit. I still like a lot of my friends that aren't pro-Trump right, but I do think that the right overall is going to be changing to a movement that is going more alt-right, actually, kind of back to the original William F. Buckley right wing, which, as much as the National Review would like you to ignore, William F. Buckley was quite alt-right if you read some of his older articles, and it was kind of this more original, very, very strong conservatism that wasn't as neoconish, and I think we're going to be turning back to that.
One moment, we will bring Lauren Southern back. Interesting stuff. Rebel Media, Lauren_Southern. Stay tuned. Defensive stuff coming up.
When it's time to party, we will party hard.
Glad to be back. Lauren_Southern, Rebel Media. So we were talking about this before. Of course, we know conservatism goes back to before William F. Buckley. But my point is this: regardless of where people think the right is going, or if it ceases to be the right, I remember talking with you about this before the election, talking with Ben about this. We didn't have Milo on for a while. We'll talk about that after. Ben said these wounds can heal more easily than people realize. It definitely seems like if you look after the election, people like Ben, a lot of people are saying, even on the left, are saying, let's give this guy a chance, talking about Donald Trump. So can the people who were looking to purge anyone who wasn't 100% pro-Trump, come to some kind of an agreement as well? Are we at the point where, listen, what's best for the country, what's good for the goose is good for the gander? Because there's been a lot of fracturing, which is concerning. Speaking of fracturing, it's this echo with this damn newspaper. I apologize.
If they can jump on the Trump train, which a lot of these people are, they're giving Trump a chance. Even lefties giving Trump a chance. I absolutely think so. But baby boom conservatism is dead, and it deserved to die. And no young people are going to.
So you're human only. You're like, you follow one person, and anyone who doesn't jump in board for a person, like someone says, well, maybe, you know what, I like Donald Trump, but maybe I actually hope that, for example, he doesn't increase, let's say, a capital gains tax. Not that he is, but if someone says, I like him, but I'm not a fan of that.
Oh, absolutely. I have your criticisms of him, but this is a movement against the establishment. And if you are still for the establishment, if you still are running around yelling, we want, what's his name? Egg McMuffin, Evan McMullen, then that's not going to.
Oh, yeah, but that's not my question, obviously. My question is that no one is saying we want Evan McMullen. If they are, I mean, that's you're talking about less than 1% of the population.
Yeah.
But, everyone here who, for example, who voted straight Republican ticket, we're hoping that Donald Trump does the conservative things he said he did. But we're also hoping that the government we don't just all of a sudden have deficit amnesia. And it's cool because of Trump train. Right? Like, we want to reduce spending. We want to make sure that we're actually more fiscally viable, solvent. We have, who've been around for a long time with it. That doesn't mean we want wars. It doesn't mean they're neocons, but people who hope that Donald Trump shrinks government and doesn't increase it to hold his feet to the fire on that.
Oh, absolutely. And I think everyone that was initially on the Trump train wants that as well. I don't think you could ask very many people that were hardcore Trump supporters if they support more taxation. Every single one would obviously say, no, we want less taxes. They're libertarian and conservative, ultimately, and anti-establishment. That is what Trump is to people. And if he doesn't fulfill that, then I'm going to be criticizing him hardcore along with the rest of you.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, for example, like the protectionism thing. I know some people are like, well, okay, you don't want to put a 35% tax or whatever it is on Ford for putting a plant in Mexico if they leave Michigan. I want to see Ford leave Michigan. I don't want to see someone encourage the UAW and big union and big liberal government as you see in those states. I'd rather them go to Texas, frankly, but Mexico works too, as long as I watch the UAW die.
Right. And I understand the debate and criticism on those aspects of this policy. And because you've got, that's where you're getting a lot of the people for Bernie that were kind of like, oh, maybe Trump isn't that bad.
Yeah, maybe Trump's good. He'll tax all the people we don't like. Okay,
yeah.
Right. So I think we're on the same page here. I think, so my point is, there are people like Ben Shapiro out there who are fantastic, friend of the show. Obviously, what you do is great. We're one of the few programs where we have everyone on. And I really hope that people understand there's a coalition that needs to be formed, or Trump loses in 4 years and we lose everything. So hopefully that happens. First 100 days of Donald Trump, what does Lauren Southern want to see? Aside from his bare chest, because
quickly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But that coalition cannot end up in what conservatism was before, where it was constantly pandering. It cannot end up in another conservative pandering session where people, like every other person in the primaries for the Republican leadership, were too afraid to use the word anchor baby. It can't end up like that, where it's just conservatives becoming more and more pragmatic. It has to be we support the loud anti-establishment conservative, whether that is Trump or someone else.
Right.
Just want to put that out there.
Sure. No, well, I wanted to get to the first. So for example, the first 100 days seems like Donald Trump is kind of going the way of Marco Rubio, maybe in his immigration policy. So what do you feel about that? And as we talk about, and what do you want to see the first 100 days of a Donald Trump presidency? Like, what is ideal to you?
The first 100 days? Well,
that's kind of that window. It's arbitrary,
The wall. I don't care. Anything else, just build the wall. Spend that 100 days, put all of the resources in America to that freaking wall. That's the most important. You can't have a welfare state with unchecked immigration. It doesn't work. It's crippling the country. And you got to start with borders. Borders, culture, and language, as Michael Savage say, are what make a language. And right now, borders are one of the biggest problems they have.
Yeah. Well, look at Quebec, right? Quebec, this is an example of, we always talk about this, and Americans don't understand it. I know you do. It's multiculturalism gone awry. The French were a conquered people. They should have shut up, learned to speak English, and there shouldn't be a dual language province that causes all these problems, and every few years they have a referendum to leave.
This is from the guy with the French-Canadian mother.
With a French, well, she was never a separatist. And we can get into that. There's some conservative ideas of separatism because they felt like they were paying more taxes. But, there shouldn't be French Canada as it exists. Yeah. It should be Canadians who maybe have French Canadian heritage. But, it's a real problem. They were conquered people. Shut up, speak English, and become a Canadian, right?
I feel like an old man whenever people bring this up. I'm instantly like, we won in the Plains of Abraham.
I visited the Plains of Abraham on a field trip. Did you? We all did.
Yeah. No, whenever, I swear to God, if the French had won, we wouldn't be speaking a stick of English.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
They're the most prejudiced people on the planet, and they're racist, but not in the way like hating. I've talked about this. I don't know. I talked about this with you, but even like my mother had an aunt who had adopted a black girl. My grandmother loved her, but she'd say, "Hey, pas trop noir." I mean, like, she's not too black, and she's not lazy. And she loved her. She adored her, but it was just okay with French Canadians to accept stereotypes.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, if they leave, that would be excellent because it's the rest of us paying for their damn province to survive. So,
well, my mom did leave, came to the United States, learned English. She's now works in wardrobe and makeup. Highly skilled, very very smart, and legal immigrant. See how that works? Well, big fans of legal immigration. That keyword, legal versus illegal.
Who could have thunk?
And if you need a work visa, we can make you an intern, Lauren. But I know you're doing good work in Canada. Where can people best find you?
They can find me at therebel.media or at Lauren_Southern on Twitter.
And
thank you so much for having me.
Thanks. And if that's not enough info, I will dox her later, and you can find out where she lives and send her roses. Lauren Southern, thank you very much. We must go. Here comes music.
Thanks for watching. Don't miss my show Standoff by clicking here to become a member.